All right. Hello. Hello and welcome to today's weekly Animatron webinar. This is a fresh reboot from probably a few months ago. We are trying to get the webinars off the ground. Just over this summer, we've kind of rearranged everything, and Animatron is adopting a new element to it. So we're trying to upgrade with the times, so to speak. Today, we'll be discussing the importing, editing, and publishing of audio using the Animatron editor. And I would like to walk you through a couple of helpful techniques when dealing with your audio and how to manipulate it in your project. If you are brand new to Animatron, I would highly suggest watching our official tutorial playlist on our YouTube channel. And you can find the link for that playlist down in the description area below this live stream. So please go click on that. If you're new to Animatron, you've never used the editor before, it's definitely a good resource for you to get familiarized with all of the tools and functionality inside of our editor before stepping into some more advanced techniques. So just so you know, all of our webinars from here on out will be more or less intermediate level training elements or processes for you to understand little hidden techniques and certain tool functions that you probably won't be using unless it's a very specific part of your project. So I really would like to have you review those playlist tutorials right now. Before you go any further. But if you do want to stick around and you do have some questions related to audio, I would be more than happy to answer those for you. I'd also like to say that all of the questions that you ask throughout the event today, the live event, I will get to those eventually, but I would like to focus on getting the topic completely covered before we move on to anything more advanced. So if you do have some questions that are off topic, please save those for the Q&A session at the tail end of this live event. So as I'm going through this tutorial, this little walkthrough, I do suggest that you ask your questions while we're going through. If I see any pop up that are relevant to our audio editing, importing, or publishing, I will be more than happy to reiterate whatever I was currently doing or whatever the question may suggest. On top of that, just make sure that you're already signed in with an Animatron account. So if you'd like to open up in a different web browser window, you can definitely go ahead and do that. It helps a lot to be able to follow one-on-one with somebody as they're going through these types of tutorials. So I highly recommend having your account open in a different browser and just following through. And let's go ahead. Let's get started here. So let me share my screen. All right. That should be visible to everybody. I'll just wait and see if this is reacting. Okay, here we go. All right. So we're currently on our Animatron website. For those of you who have never gone through the process before, obviously, you should know already. If you want to create a new project, just go ahead and click on the Create Animation button at the top right of our website. You can see that where my cursor is right here. If not, if you want to access one of the projects that you've already been working on, you can go ahead and click on your personal portfolio, your account name right here, and this will open your account library for you to access your projects that you've already been working on. I'm going to go ahead and start a brand new, fresh, clean slate editor. So wait for this to open. All right, so we've loaded up our editor. The whole point of today's tutorial is to really discuss audio and how you see it in your project, how to save those particular elements on your layers, in your project library, and so on. We even have some audio samples from our marketplace, and these should import nicely. But I'm going to start off with probably something that a lot more people are particular about, is importing your own audio elements. Generally, you will already have maybe dialogue segments, an audio clip, a piece of music, something that you already had decided to bring into your project in the first place, but maybe you didn't know how. So the first thing I want to show you is the import feature. And this is how we're going to bring outside audio elements into our scene. So if you see here at the top right of our editor, I'll just click on import. And if you hover over it, it'll actually show you import images, sounds, videos, fonts. So it's a good key here, show you that audio will import in certain formats, will only import for certain formats, mainly MP3, WAV, AIFF, M4A, and OGG. So make sure that any of your audio elements that you're trying to bring into your project are in these formats here. And we can either select the audio files from your computer, or we can drag and drop them directly into this little drag and drop area right here. Fortunately, I already have a window open, so I'll just show you here. Simply drag and drop. I get this little sound effect here, and I'll drag and drop that right here. And after a small loading screen, you'll see a new layer present on your layers panel down in the bottom left corner. And we'll give this some time to process. Generally speaking, most audio clips that have a very particular format, or they just have a very long time frame, they may take longer to process. Some of these things generally won't show up right away. One of the things that you want to do to make sure that these are being imported properly is just simply refresh your page, refresh your browser, and see if with the refresh that this audio clip comes into place. Now on the timeline, you'll notice it says processing. It's very, it's in a gray overlay at the moment. When our audio clip comes in so we can actually play it back and hear it, it will have an orange waveform over the top of it. So let's hit enter. Let's see, nothing's processed yet. All right. Let me see if I can re-import this file by selecting it first. Do the same process again. We're just going to select it from our files on our computer. Let's see, music, pictures, oh, where is it? Desktop. Oh, I already have the folder open. So I'm just going to go ahead and reopen my folder here. Look for my audio clips. Here we go. And let's see if I can drag and drop this back in. And there we go. Okay, so this is a common bug. We're trying to work on these as we go. The first audio file, you'll see it's highlighted right here, didn't finish processing. So you might as well just try to import the same file again and see if it processes. You'll see the one on top. This is the second one I brought in. This one processed fine. It happened really quick, so we know that this file is working. I'm going to go ahead and delete my first entry. Just click on my little delete layer button here. And now I can scrub through. If I hit enter, you should be able to hear your audio sample playing. And if it is too loud, so the next step in our audio process is you can figure out how loud a audio sample or audio clip is on your project simply by clicking on it, clicking on the layer specifically. And if you look at the very top here, it's as easy as finding your volume slider. And you can always drop this slider to 50%, sample it again, hit enter, And then just find a happy ground that that you like. It doesn't, not too overpowering. Doesn't hurt anybody's ears when they listen to it. And yeah, so that's a quick way of accessing our volume for our audio clip. Now I can go on and show you something that has a longer file time. So this is a simple sound effect clip, not really long, about 8 seconds. If that, these usually process pretty quickly. I'll show you a snippet of an audio, a piece of music doing the same method, and I'll show you how it differs on our timeline and how the process may change depending on how long your files are. I keep clicking on the wrong button here. Okay. I'll bring my folder back up. And here we go. So I have this Enya audio clip here. This whole song. If you hover over your files in the folder, it usually tells you a good idea what the length of the file is, the size of the file. So we can compare these just by looking at each one. This was our sound effect, is our boing boing, 187 kilobytes at 7 seconds. And we also have our soundtrack here at 3 minutes and 42 seconds, but this is also a 5 megabyte file. So you'll see the difference in how long it takes to process. So don't panic if you can't get your audio files to import right away. You can always try refreshing your web browser or re-importing this file. We'll see it here on our layers panel. This will take some time. And there you go. Okay, so even with the file size the way it was, and with the longer period of time, it still plays. Yeah, sounds pretty lossless, so we're good to go. If you ever bring in one of these audio tracks, these soundtracks, a piece of music, something that goes beyond the timeline, a good little pointer here is to go down the timeline. Literally grab our slider here at the bottom of the timeline. Hold down left click when you see the hand, and you can drag down the timeline to see how far this goes out. Now this was about a 4-minute track, so you keep clicking and dragging till you get to the end point. Here you go. So this is based on seconds, so we're at about 223 seconds. If you want to see the whole thing, you can essentially zoom into your timeline or zoom out. Now, this is another thing I should point out to everybody, is that when you have audio waveforms on your layer stack, it's easy to line up certain elements like animating, certain design elements that require that sound effect to be processed over them. Or if you have something that you're using as markers, it's always good to zoom in to your audio waveforms, and then you can get a good idea of where these sound elements are happening. So I'm going to mute our soundtrack, our Enya soundtrack, and on our layers timeline, on our layers panel, the easiest thing you can do to instantly mute one of these audio layers is actually hiding it. It doesn't sound intuitive right away, but think about it. If you were to make an audio clip invisible, technically it's hiding it from your ears. So you can hide the layer, and if we play this back, you won't hear any of the music play under the sound effect that we have. So again, if you want to instantly mute your audio file at any time, just go to your layers, select the audio layer you want to mute, and you can just click on this little gray dot under our hide layers icon. All right. So another section of how to work with your audio clips. This is very important here. If we zoom out, we should be able to see the scene duration flag. So this little flag here, a lot of people get confused about where this stops, where this ends a scene, how it ends the animation. Essentially, if you, let me bring this to 2 seconds, you'll see how this works. I'll bring my playhead. I'm just clicking and dragging my little playhead at the end, at the very top of the timeline. And I brought our scene duration flag to 2 seconds. So if I play back, I'm just going to hit enter to play back my scene. It just stops. It cuts out at 2 seconds. So if you were to have an animation that you wanted the audio to continue to play in the background, one of these things that you can do is make sure, well, first is make sure your scene duration flag is to the point where you want to continue it. So if you had a piece of animation, let's just give us a little example here. So I have an animation, let's say it's 8 seconds. Now, for the sake of our little preview here, I'll just make it 2 seconds. It's easier to do that way. I'll go to 2 seconds. Make sure my animation flag is on. There we go. And now I have my sphere going from one point to another. And who knows, this may be an interactive scene or something you have tied into the audio element, but you want the music to keep playing in the background as it goes to the next scene. So what I can do is show you how to use our master audio clip. So I've created a second scene here. I just clicked on this little plus symbol here to add a second scene. And you'll see our scene 2. Just to give you a visual, I'll put another shape down. And let's change the color. And then this one I will also do at 2 seconds. And I will move this across the canvas. So we have scene 1. I'm going to mute our audio here. But the sound effect should still play, the boing, boing, boing. I'll play it. It ends there. If I wanted to, this sound effect to continue into the second scene, I can select that audio file, same way we changed the volume before. Just underneath it is a master audio checkbox. And what this means is, if you see where the scene duration flag ends at the 2 second mark, it's not going to play anything after that point. But if we wanted this to continue on to scene 2, all we have to do is check master audio on, and it will continue to play all the way to the very end of its existence. So at 8 seconds, it will literally cut off. But it will continue to play through to scene 2. So if I click on scene 2, you see here there is no audio track on it. It's because scene 1 has a master audio file, and it will continue to play through to scene 2. So what I can do is play, I can play my movie, Control Enter, if you want to use the hotkey for that. And you hear how the audio continues to play. This actually might be easier to do with our soundtrack. So what I'll do is I'll remove master audio from my sound effect, and I'll actually mute it so we're only hearing our music. And I'll, let's see. Oh, this is a good point in time to show you how to edit the clipping points. Basically, in any other editor, you'd be able to cut your audio waveform down to a certain segment so that you could copy it, paste it, or edit small sections out of it. So what I want to do is get rid of this little beginning trail, this orange line here. Our waveform doesn't exist at that point. So I literally just want to bump this up to where the music starts. And then I can hold down left click and drag it to the beginning so that it plays right away. When I play this back, I'll try it one more time. And there you go. And then with it selected, I'm going to click on Master Audio checkbox. you'll see a little gray dot inside of the box, which means it's active. And if I hit Control Enter, which is my shortcut key to play the movie, which means all the scenes are playing, it will play back scene 1 into scene 2. And then it ends at that 2-second point, because that is literally the last scene duration flag of our entire movie, so it will not continue past that point. This also works this also does not work for looping animations. Since the loop is continuous from beginning to end, it will just go back to scene 1 and play this audio clip from scene 1 again. So if you had any particular music that you wanted to continue through to the loops, you would have to manually put the loops into your timeline. So let's say I had a 8-second loop of my 2-second circle here. You can right-click on the point where the animated loop ends, change end action, and loop. So you can manually enter how many times it loops for. If it's going to be a looping animation when you embed it into your own website, or when you're presenting this on any form of social media, you can just click on the loop icon here, and it will loop endlessly. If you look through our timeline, it just continues. You'll see this little ghosting effect of how many times it loops back and forth. So just to show you how this works, so my animated sphere will play and loop through each one of these. So for your audio, if you wanted that to continue endlessly throughout the entire audio clip instead of resetting after each loop, you can manually enter your loops on the timeline and make sure that your soundtrack is master audio. And this will play until it ends. But you do have to make sure that you set your scene duration flag to the point that you want the animated clip to stop completely. So that is master audio in a nutshell. I'd also like to show you how to clip certain segments. So our sound effect here, our boing boing sound effect, it's comprised of 4 individual boing noises. If I wanted to essentially cut or clip these individual wavelengths, or waveforms, I should say, down to individual sizes, I could right-click at any point after this segment, change end action, and stop. And that essentially is the way that you're going to be cutting these sound effects. Now what I can do is, if I want to reuse just this one sound effect, I'll play it back so you can hear it. Right? So this is an individual boing. We'll duplicate this. And I can rename my layer. I'll just call this one boing. And I will click and drag this to where it meets up with the one below it. So I can have this one be the entire piece. And this one is just the individual boing on top of it. So I can move this down the line. I'll bring it to the end. And you can either have this restart the entire audio segment, the entire sound effect that we've just clipped down. If you'd like to grab any of the sound effect segments out of the middle of an audio clip, you would do that basically the same way. Let me duplicate another one. I'll show you how to do that in the center. So what I could do, let me get rid of this keyframe. So in order to grab something from the center of our sound effect, I'm going to first I'm going to reposition reposition our time band so that you can see the start of our time band, which is this little blue, you'll see this little blue handle appear, and your cursor turns into these parallel lines. You can hold down left click over this and drag it to the point of, let's say, the second boing, right? This is in the middle of our sound effect. And then somewhere at the end of this individual sound effect, I can right click, change end action, and stop. And now we have, you'll see this little ghosted visual of the part of the waveform that is not included in this new time band or this new sound effect that we've clipped. All right, so now we have two individual boings, and I'll bring those back to the beginning so that we can hear them. And I'm going to mute our original sound effect. So I'll go back to the very beginning, reset my playhead to 0 seconds, and then I will play the first boing, and let's call this 2 boing. 2 boing. Hit enter, and there you go. So that is essentially the way you would clip your sound effects or your audio samples down into individual portions that you can clip them and separate them how you wish. So this is good for timing. If you wanted to line these up or reset spaces in between dialogue audio. So that's essentially the editing or clipping portion of your sound effect. Give me just a moment here. All right. So that essentially covers a good portion of what we can do with our audio. Now, one of the things that you'd probably be interested in finding out is how these publish out. So the last thing we can do is discover our publishing methods. So now that we have some sound effects in our timeline, I'll unmute my sound track here. And I'll go up to the top right, and I'll look into my publishing settings first. So I'll left click on my little gear icon at the top here. You hover over it, it says configure publish settings. Just click on this, and you can set the format in which it outputs to. So just so everybody is understanding the way Animatron works, we refer to exporting as publishing. It's just an easier way to say that you're creating the video element from the animation that you've put together from the editor. So we refer to this as publishing. So our publish settings, we can output to any one of these formats, HTML5, GIF, and video. It's important to know that video, if you are doing some audio files or audio clips, that you should be at least a starter subscriber for our video to work. And a pro subscriber will be able to have access to our HD quality video exporting. That is, pro subscribers are able to export up to 10 minutes of HD quality video. And starter subscribers are limited. Forget the exact time frame. I believe it's a very short segment of SD video. But GIF and HTML5 are open to all subscribers, even free. GIF generally doesn't encode audio. So GIF would be a bad choice for our audio segment. So I'm just going to choose HTML5, one of the easiest, broadest uses for our video clip here. And we also have the options to auto start our video and loop it. And this will give you the power to upload it to a forum to your web page, wherever you'd like to post this HTML5 video clip, even embedding, you'd be able to use this directly. So I'm going to choose auto start and loop. And then after you're done making your publish setting changes, you're going to click on this little HTML5 button right here. It's a dark gray outline around the word HTML5. And if you click on that, you get a clip link to how to access the clip that's been rendered in HTML5. And if you wish to embed this into an iframe, you can copy our iframe code segment here and paste that to whichever outlet you're using it in. This is preferable for people who do blogging, posting any of these things on the web without limitations of having to send their particular users to another website to access this video. So what you can do is you can either copy this, and I'll just highlight it, Control C. I'll create a new tab, Control V to paste, and hit enter. And there's our blue circle looping for 8 seconds with Enya master audio clip in the background, and it should play into our red star. And it starts all over again because I selected looping. So if that's another good example of when you do select your looping options, it will kill the audio off and start over again from the very, very beginning of your first scene, or wherever you have attached the very first portion, or wherever the sound clip starts from. So if it was to start at 1 second, and let's bring our looping down a bit to 4 seconds. If our audio clip starts at, let's say, 2 seconds. So if you look at our sound effect here, I'm going to get rid of our sound effect. If you look at our soundtrack here, it doesn't start. I made it start at 2 seconds, which is where this little handle is. And if I hit the playback option, I'll just hit enter. So the audio does not start until 2 seconds. It's still master audio, but this is the initial keyframe of where the audio starts throughout your project. So if I was to export this again, and we're going to hear the looping, and it didn't kick in until 2 seconds. All right. So these are all pretty easy ways to deal with your audio clips. There's not really much more to it unless you're applying these to individual assets. So what's really great about audio is you can attach them to other objects. So let's say that we wanted to attach this whole segment, shape 1. This is the circle here. And I'll make sure to only loop this twice. So again, I click on this little end action icon right here. You'll see it highlighted in a little blue square. I'm going to change the loop to 2 times. So it's a finite loop. We'll only loop twice. And my audio segment, my soundtrack itself, will start at 2 seconds and technically end at 4 seconds. But if I wanted to, I could connect all of these into one object. So let's unhide these. And I'll just space these out so we can hear the difference. So I'll unmute those. And by selecting one layer, holding down Shift and clicking and dragging my group layers, or my layers that I want to have put into a group, they all become highlighted. You see all of them highlighted on the timeline. I can either just press F8 on my keyboard to group them, or I can right-click for our context menu and just find Group and click on Group. There we go. So now I have my circle, my animated circle, and my audio clips all into one layer. And you see all the other layers disappeared, but technically they're all part of the same layer now. It renamed it to Group 1. So I'll just say audio, let's do this, blue audio circle group. Right? So our naming convention is very important when we go to save that to our library later, because this is the way it will be recalled when you drag it onto your canvas, and this is the way it'll show up when it creates a new layer for you. And to find out what's in the group layer, you hover over this little thumbnail and click on the pencil icon. And now we're inside the isolated group layer. So you see our canvas has essentially disappeared. If you look at our breadcrumbs, you'll see that we are inside of scene 1 and looking at blue audio circle group. So this is basically our breadcrumb tags show you which timeline you're currently on. You can click on scene 1 to get back to your overall canvas. So let's go back and investigate. Click on our little thumbnail again. And now you see that we have our shape is animated, 2 loops, and then it disappears. We have our soundtrack, which starts at 2 seconds and continues on until it finishes. We have our first boing that is clipped. And again, with these waveforms, you want to make sure you're zooming in as far as you can to make sure you have enough of that audio sample selected or cut down properly. And then we have our full audio clip, our full sound effect, the initial sound effect that we brought in, our boing boing MP3. And those are the 5 current elements of this group. And if I go back to scene 1, it all exists as one object. So I can click on blue audio circle group. Oops. Let's try that again. Click on blue audio circle group. It's now selected. And I can move this around the canvas as I wish, and it will start whenever I want to. All right. But because it's inside of this group, it will not go past our scene duration flag. So just make sure that if you have any audio elements that need to continue past this point, that you are giving yourself enough time to hear all of the audio samples that you're trying to gather from that object. So on top of this, the point that we grouped everything together is that now we can go to our library, which is this little marketplace icon down here. You can go, once you've clicked on that, you can go up to the very top. There's a tab that says Project Library, and this is essentially your personal project assets. These are the things that you have saved in this project that you can reuse again in this project and with any other that's been duplicated from it. So in order to save it, you'll see there's nothing in here yet, but you just select the layer, and you'll see an example of the thumbnail that shows up underneath this little plus symbol, and you can click on that plus symbol, and now you've added your animated shape object. And I can show you this. If you hover over it, you'll see the name tag that we gave it, blue audio circle group. You can click and drag this to our canvas, and this is the way that you can continuously duplicate certain assets that you've already created. And if I look into this one now, here, I'll just rename this, give it a 2 at the end, so you know this is our duplicate, our copy. And again, you can go into the group layer, and everything exists the same way. So all these audio files still exist on our blue audio circle group 2. and we have two versions of it. So if I wanted to, I'll just show you how I would change the color of this so we can tell them apart. Let's make this one green. So audio circle group 2 is now green audio circle group, but that's a technicality. And what you can do here is now the group itself has its own time band, which you can set to start at any point in time. So I'll have this one start at 3 seconds. I'll just hold down left click and drag the time band. And our time duration flag goes to 6 seconds. So this will play. I'll go back to the beginning with my playhead and hit enter. And that's the blue one, and that's the green one. Okay, so you can make duplicates, make really fast duplicates of objects and audio samples together under one group object. So that's always something to take into consideration if you're making projects with large amounts of assets that you need to repeat time and time again. And essentially, that is the ending of showing you how our audio clips work. If you wanted to, go to your marketplace. This is free assets for everybody to sample without having to already have the audio clip on their computer or having to record your own audio and use that. You can always go to our market. Again, that's this little marketplace icon here on our toolbar. And at the top, make sure that the market tab is selected. And you can go to sound effects. We have a number of creature, environment, music, and just regular sound effects to choose from. And if you go to any one of these, let's choose a short one, fly buzzing, and you hit this little play icon, it will give you an example of what that audio effect sounds like. And if you like it, again, you can just click and drag these onto the canvas. Now, the audio samples, they don't go to the canvas like in Adobe Flash. Generally, you'd have to apply it to the canvas layer. You'd actually see it on the canvas. Here, we just apply it to a layer. So now you see we have fly buzzing. I'll hit enter to play the audio sample. And there you go. That's another good thing to point out, and I just found that out by muting here. So because our two original groups are now in group layers, these hide icons don't work as audio muting also. You'd have to mute the audio inside of the group layer in order for them to not play. So I'll essentially mute all of my audio layers inside of that one, as well as our blue circle. So again, just clicking on the visibility icon to essentially mute those. Oops. Go back to scene 1. And now when I hit play, all you hear is the fly buzzing. But our audio group, yeah, so just make sure that you're muting all of the audio layers that you have in grouped layers so that you can use these at your own leisure. And then make sure to look through our market. We do have a very wide variety of audio files that you can choose from. Not only audio files, here's music. A couple of music samples, some sound effects for you, keyboard typing, creatures. And if you go all the way to the top of our market branch, you can see individual objects. We have some holiday objects in here. Backgrounds, shapes, animated sets will be coming out shortly. And audio tracks themselves will be in their own folder. So make sure you do check in with our marketplace, but these are for you to use directly in the Animatron editor. You don't have to do any any audio recording or hunting down for audio samples on the internet beforehand, you can just grab them directly from our marketplace and drag and drop them onto your project canvas. So that essentially wraps up our audio segment for today. It did go a little over. I'm about 45 minutes in. So this is the point where I'd like to open our chat discussion for questions and answers. If you have anything that you've been yearning to ask me specifically about audio, if not, if it's off topic, if it's anything else, please ask them there. If you don't have any questions for me today, all you have to do is send your questions, comments, and suggestions into feedback@animatron.com. I'll type that in here on my canvas for you. Feedback@animatron.com. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions for us at Animatron, we are building our tool for the betterment of our users. So we really do thrive off of all of your feedback. If you do have any suggestions for the next topic next week, next Wednesday at 11, we would like to hear your topic ideas. All you'd have to do, again, send an email to feedback@animatron.com and make sure that your email title mentions webinar in it, and we will put those together. We'll try to figure out how many people are interested in specific topics, and we will custom tailor the next topic for next week based on your suggestions. If not, we'll have an announcement for you in our summary email we'll send out to all of our current YouTube webinar followers. And also, to make sure that you're on our mailing list for all of these webinar announcements, I want to make sure that you are liking us and following us on YouTube. You can follow us on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter. Make sure that you're keeping in the know. You can always just go to animatron.com, and we will have a number of announcements that will show up here at the top of our site, and that's for you to understand where we're moving towards and the things that we've been working on in the past. Working on in the future for you guys to better utilize Animatron for your daily needs. So again, feedback@animatron.com. I'm glad you guys are active and viewing our webinars, and we hope that we can make a lot more eyes open to the everyday issues that you guys are going through with your animation projects. And I will see you next week. Have a nice day.